I must say, I'm not quite sure why I'm here. Because normally, at these sort of gatherings of the alumni of public schools, one is expected to talk about one's record and one's experience, and do you remember old bloggers and the games we used to play, and all that sort of thing. I hated Bromsgrove. And there isn't any escape, except sort of you didn't get on that well, or platitudes of the sort that politicians use where they want to avoid the truth. The truth is, I was only there for a matter of weeks, if I remember correctly. And so much did I hate the place that I organised a breakout of the entire form. I think there were 30 of us. And I was the ring leader, that's totally true. And I said, come on boys, we've had enough of this, we will go. And we set off, and I think we must have been unescorted for the plot to work. And 28 of them lost their nerve. 2 of us had the guts to go through it. So we gathered and we said, all right, if you aren't prepared to do it, we're prepared to do it, we're off. We've got no money, so you just chip in what you've got, and that will fund the view. And we collected totally sixpence from those 30 boys. And we had blackberries, and that was going to be the sustenance with which we would cover the 48 miles over the Sugarloaf to Swansea. We were young heroes, and it wasn't a very arduous task. All we had to do was to get to the main road and thumb a lift. And it worked brilliantly. Well, I mean, the best laid plans. The first car stopped. How could we know it was the headmaster? And he put me to bed as punishment. Rather comfortable punishment, actually. First time I'd been warm in weeks. And my parents took me away for the next few days. I was delighted to be taken away. I've never had any regrets about being taken away. And I said, what the heck am I doing here? It's what I said, because I have no memories of any sort, shape or size, except wanting to get the hell out, and succeeded in getting out. And this, you may well be saying, well, he was obviously a bit odd, and you know, thank God we got rid of him. But I have then to say that I then did go on to another parachute boarding school where I was idyllically happy. So it wasn't 100% me. I think there was a headmaster called Hughes. I think he must be dead long since, I hope, because otherwise I could be sued for libel. But I'm sure he must be. I didn't take it. And so that's my experience of Bromsgrove. And really, that's sort of the end of the speech. Because, I have no advice to give you, no great messages of what I learned and what a wonderful experience it all was. It was a terrible experience, and I have survived. I suppose that is the lesson. I have survived. You can survive these experiences. Perhaps that's been the story of my life. But I think the real story of my life, well, actually, I suppose if I stopped at this point and went on to questions, I would remember that introduction that I once had made by a far less sophisticated introducer than your headmaster, who said, well, we'll listen to what he has to say, and then we'll go to questions. I always found them much the most interesting part of the afternoon. So, I mean, I won't keep you that long from the questions, but I suppose, trying to remember all those sort of, when I eventually got to Shrewsbury, the great generals of the war and the great bishops used to come, and they all had uplifting messages about how if you worked together in a great team and cooperation, and you were being enriched and you will pay back the great debts of privilege and all that sort of stuff. I have to say my experience of life is a great deal rougher than that. It's much more like a jungle, and you're on your own, and life is pretty short, nasty, brutish and tough. And it really is quite important to prepare people for the need for resilience, and I think also the need to understand the nature of luck. When I look back at my life, which has been so privileged, it's unbelievable, I can hardly believe, but I can't certainly explain how things went right. I'm pretty sure about when they went wrong. It's usually my fault. But how did the luck break? And how did it happen? How did I spot the luck? Because I think everybody has luck. I think I see it myself. You know that fairground you go to and you get a rifle with a little feather darted bullet, and the elephants and the camels and the rhinoceros are all going past on a chain, and the trick is to hit them, and if you hit enough of them, you get a coconut or whatever it is. But everybody, I think, I see that as everybody gets that opportunity to knock the elephant if they spot the right opportunity. And I suppose I am by instinct an entrepreneur, and David Arctus was a great entrepreneur in the same field for me, invited me here. So there are others who've come from Bromsgrove and actually stayed the course, so there's obviously not anything wrong with Bromsgrove. This must be about me. But there is I do go back entrepreneurially quite a long time. When I got to Shrewsbury, I wasn't much of an athlete. I was captain of a team, but it was the house team, and it was the house second 11 team. And you won't take a minute to work out that with 40 boys in a house, second team, it's not in your last year. Is not actually sort of marking you out as a great sort of tyro on the sports field. But I was terribly good at making money. And I did this when all these sort of guys went off and did all this hearty stuff like rugby and soccer and everything. I would go down to the local post office and I would get a crate of fizzy lemonade, ginger beer, orange ale, whatever it is, which cost me £1 a bottle, if I remember. And then I would be waiting as all these guys came off the sports field with my glass and my bottles and selling the filthy things in these crates for very much larger sums of money than £1 a bottle. And I made quite a lot of money during the course of doing that. So there was a sort of spark of entrepreneurial activity. But then came Oxford, when I was involved in the Oxford Union. And another lesson of life. It's a very interesting question. Is that half full or half empty? And broadly, human beings divide into 3 categories. Unbelievably, a third don't know, even when you show them. And then there are those who say, well, it's half empty. I'm on the side of those who say it's half full. Very interesting, very simple view. And you find it in endless dialogue in executive position. We've got a problem, what are we going to do? Cut, pull back, reduce, close down, invest, build, look up, fight. And I've seen it 1,000 times replicated, that argument. And the Oxford Union was facing calamity, and the choice was cut back to within your means, in which case the service you'd offered the new undergraduate worse than they've already experienced and left in droves, or invest, take a risk, and build an offering that they can't refuse. And so happened I was the leader of the glass half full brigade. We invested and we saw the membership of the Oxford Union soar. And so that was a sort of entrepreneurial experience. Very exciting. We built a nightclub out of the coal cellars in the basement. And there are some of you here old enough to remember the Dockers. We got Lady Docker to open the nightclub. And I was dancing with her when she looked up and she said, Michael, Bernard and I would like to pay for all of this. I mean, that doesn't happen. But mind you, it was only £600. So obviously, but we did get the cheque. Some